My name is Jordan Timmons, and I'm here bringing you an informative video on the classic coming-of-age tale, Stand By Me. You may have seen this movie before, and if you have not, I have no idea why you're watching this, because you'll be very confused. It's a classic film directed by Rob Reiner about four boys who head out on a journey to find the body of a dead kid who got hit by a train. Uplifting, right? Well, it's fitting that the original story came from the horror aficionado, Stephen King. While it's not a horror story, it has many elements that give it that King signature, beginning with the overall concept. I'm going to be discussing mainly how narration and characterization play a role in this film and why it matters. And I'm sure you've watched movies or shows that use narration, but you may not have realized how different narration affects a story. According to ScriptFirm, there are four main types of narration. First is first person. This can be used to reveal secrets, address the audience, and reveal the innermost thoughts of the main character. An example of this would be A Christmas Story, narrated by Ralphie. The second one is second person. This is when a secondary character narrates a story about another character on the screen. It's used to highlight conflict and progress the plot. An example of this would be The Shawshank Redemption, narrated by Morgan Freeman, who is a secondary character in the film. The third one is third person omission. This is when a faceless voice gives insight and wisdom into the story that's evolving. An example of this would be Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The fourth is an unreliable narrator. This narrator has a disruptive role in the movie, and it misleads or even lies to the audience to affect the outcome of the story. This would be Forrest Gump, narrated by Tom Hanks, who is an unreliable narrator in this sense. Stand By Me utilizes first-person narration by Gordie LaChance to relive this important and fairly disturbing moment in his life. By using a narrator in this capacity, Reiner is creating a sense of nostalgia with the audience. He's virtually reverting your mind to childhood so you can resonate with the characters in the story. I mean, come on. Who doesn't remember smoking cigarettes at 12 years old in a treehouse at 3 in the afternoon? Alright, maybe not, but this movie was before my time and things were different. I can still resonate with the idea of it though, which is why this movie has stood the test of time. Even being born almost 2 decades after the creation of this movie, I can still imagine hanging out with my friends at the stage without a care in the world. There are a lot of movies that rely so much on narration that it takes away from the meaning of the film. This is not the case here though. Richard Dreyfuss is used intermittently to progress the plot and add insight into what's going on in Gordie's mind. He talks about what Gordie was thinking in this moment, running away from the beast.
God damn it, I'll stick my dog on you!
Run, Gordie!
Chopper! Sick him, boy!
Now, he said sick 'em boy, but what I heard was Chopper sick balls.
And once again, when he describes the differences between myth and reality. How he thought one thing that turned out to be something completely different, and we only understand this because he tells us outright that this is what his exact thoughts were.
That's Chopper!
Chopper was my first lesson in the vast difference between myth and reality.
Maybe the most iconic part of this film comes at the very end, when Richard Dreyfuss, who is an older Gordie LaChance, types, This ties up the whole movie by bringing it back to the present day and relieving the audience of their trip back in time. The use of narration in this sense also helps the audience in connecting with the characters. They're given backstories to make them relatable to the viewer, which is difficult to do without the use of a narrator. For instance, Chris is described as a tough guy who's the leader of the gang, Vern is the little pudgy kid who's afraid of his own shadow, and Teddy is the firecracker whose father almost burned off half his face with the kitchen stove. Now, we may be able to infer some of this within the movie, but it's given credibility coming from the main character himself. In the final scene, we connect with Gordie even deeper than in the rest of the entire movie, because he's telling us outright exactly what happened to everyone as time went on, and how he felt about it.
I heard that Vern got married out of high school, had 4 kids, and is now the forklift operator at the Arsenault lumberyard. Teddy tried several times to get into the army, but his eyes and his ear kept him out. Last I'd heard, he'd spent some time in jail and was now doing odd jobs around Castle Rock.
We get how Vern and Teddy turned out to be deadbeats, and that Chris managed to completely turn his life around.
Chris did get out. He enrolled in the college courses with me, and although it was hard, he gutted it out like he always did. He went on to college and eventually became a lawyer. Last week, he entered a fast food restaurant. Just ahead of him, 2 men got into an argument. One of them pulled a knife. Chris, who had always made the best piece, tried to break it up. He was stabbed in the throat. He died almost instantly.
Finally, we understand the whole meaning of the story because he explains how Chris was killed a week before present day, and that he needed to relive that moment to hold on to this memory. The movie begins with Gordy looking back on his old life and this important event, and it ends with him moving on and transferring back into his normal life.
Yeah, my dad's weird. He gets like that when he's writing.
As a narrator, he's able to progress the plot and make sure that the audience understands his life in a deeper way. Overall, the use of narration in this film is something that stayed true to the original novel by Stephen King. This was a pleasant choice by the creators of the movie, and they used it well by creating a sense of nostalgia, a deeper connection between the audience and the characters, and they did not overuse the narrator, which can make or break a movie. Stand By Me has been such an important film for decades, and I believe that its relevance will not be fading anytime soon.
You guys want to go see a dead body?
I bet you anything that if we find him, we'll get our pictures in the paper. Yeah, we can even be on TV. Sure, we'll be heroes. Yeah. Just suppose that I told the story. Do you think that anyone would have believed it?